In this video, I'm going to talk about my gender dysphoria that I experienced from my preteen years into my early to mid-20s. Now, I had made videos about this subject many years ago, about 8 years ago now, when I had a different YouTube channel. And the substance of the story that chronicles like the influences over my life that contributed to my dysphoria, that hasn't changed much. Okay, I might have a slightly different take on one event or another because I've had more time to reflect and understand myself better, to understand my past better. It's just articulated differently. And I will make it clear for people, especially people of lesser intelligence, which, everybody can use YouTube. I am not complaining about the people I mentioned in this story. I'm not here to try, convict, or punish them, all right? That's not the purpose of this video. I am going to mention some negative things that happened, and I'm not angry with these people. What's done is done. Most human beings through most of human history just go through life with very little self-awareness, do not understand what they do. This is about my journey through gender dysphoria, and I've gotten past it. Do I have psychological damage that changed me? Yeah, I do. I have psychological damage that changed me. It's different from the story of many other people who may have had a perfect upbringing, but always felt like they were in the wrong body. This is fundamentally different kind of story. There may be some overlaps here and there. Maybe some people it's both biological as well as sociological. But I'm not getting down to the weeds of other people's stories, right? People can tell their own stories. I'm going to tell my story. How I, for a good period of time, did not want to be a man. I despaired of being male. And eventually, I got better. So on we go. I'm going to start by talking about the rosary. Roman Catholics revere Mary, the mother of Jesus. They call the Virgin Mary. And they believe that she lived a life without sin and ascended into heaven. They call it the Assumption. Interesting name, because you assume that she was sinless. And so they'll pray the rosary, and the rosary is largely about praying to Mary to intercede on behalf of the person offering the prayer, because she can change God's mind. Now, there's a proof text for this. It's in the gospel. I forget which line it is. I forget which book. I don't care. Apparently, there was a wedding feast, and people were running low on wine. And so Mary looks to Jesus, who she knows he can work miracles. Says, hey, can you help out? And he's like, no, it's not my time yet. He's like, come on. He says, all right, I'll do it. So they bring out the barrels of water, and he transforms it into wine, and everyone gets drunk and has a good time. And so that is the proof text to show that Mary, the mother of Jesus, can convince him when he otherwise would not be convinced by your prayers. And I was taught that as well. Now, there's a big debate between the Catholics and the Protestants. That's, I'm not even going to go into that, but they'll say that is sacrilegious, and that's idolatry, and it's immoral, and it's wrong. Nonetheless, it's what I was raised with, and so it's very female-focused prayer. And so my mom used to make us pray this. And I remember it was summertime, and I was like 4 or 5. Maybe been 5 or 6. Anyways, I was very young, and I remember I wanted to go out and play with my friend down the street. He used to ride his bicycle up, and he'd be waiting for me to come out and play with him, waiting for me to notice him and come out and play with him. And I couldn't go because I had to pray the rosary. So we're inside chanting the rosary. In the summer, when the last thing you want to do in the summer on a Saturday is be inside praying. You want to be out playing. But we do this. And my mom would make my sisters and I chant this rosary with her. And I guess, so basically the premise of the rosary is You're repeating these prayers over and over to Mary, and then you'd also reflect on different stories from the gospel. There's the 5 joyful mysteries, the 5 sorrowful mysteries, and the 5 glorious mysteries, and respectively, that's like the young life of Jesus, the persecution and crucifixion of Jesus, and then the resurrection and the miracles he worked afterwards. I think that is the correct order of things. And some people think the rosary is very powerful. It's also very female focused. The Catholic Church itself is very female focused. At least when I was young and forced to attend church, it was mostly women. It was easily 2/3, maybe 3/4 women in the church, and not many men. The men was there was a priest and a couple old men who served either as Eucharistic ministers or as helpers or as volunteers in the church, that sort of thing. For the most part, there weren't many men. It's a church full of women facing a crucified Jesus hanging on the wall. The greatest thing a man ever did was die. Well, Mary, pure, sinless, ascended into heaven. The Son of God, a man, had to be crucified. The greatest thing a man does is go out and get crucified. The greatest thing a man does is go out and suffer. The suffering servant. It's your job, man, to suffer and serve women. And in my growing up, I noticed that my sisters got all kinds of things. Now, my earliest memories are when my oldest sisters were in puberty. And, my parents were buying them, always kinds of buying them stuff. And I understand that. I understand the purpose of tampons and maxi pads, okay? I didn't understand that. But they were always buying them, all these different types of clothes, and buying them makeup, and buying them hairspray, and buying them nylons, and I remember moms arguing with them, you can't go out with bare legs because the boys will get lusty. I'm like, yeah, well, I know now, a lot of guys like to see women in nylons, so, I don't know if she was even helping with that or not. In any case, I got jealous, and as I got older, I always buying stuff for my sisters, and, I don't get to do anything. I didn't understand anything about economics. I didn't understand about growing up, and I also I really didn't appreciate the fact that when children grow up, you constantly have to buy them new clothes all the time. I'm always wondering, why the hell do we have to keep going school shopping every year? I hated going school shopping, where my mom would pick out clothes for me, what do you think about this? And if I didn't like it, then she'd say, no, you're going to wear it anyways. And if I did like it, she'd say, well, we're going to try something else. There was no way to mollify mom's need to pick around through the clothes for hours at end and then force me to wear this and wear that. Always uncomfortable. Never comfortable clothes. I dress like a fucking loser. So I was jealous of these things, and my sister said, well, we need these things. That's why our parents get it for us. Now, do you need hairspray? No. Do you need makeup? No. Do you need nail polish? No. Do you need nylon? No. Do you need any of these things? I got jealous. I remember pointing out to Mom one time. She's like, oh, okay, you're right. You want to buy something? I'll get this for you. So she let me get a little Lego set one time, and I was playing with the Legos. So I'm like, finally, my parents are bestowing some sort of blessing on me. And I got jealous of my sisters because they got all these financial rewards, so to speak. I mean, wasn't cash, but I was just jealous of them because why girls get all this stuff? And I grew up in a time where you go to school and the boys were a little bit more aggressive at participating in class. They'd raise their hands more readily enthusiastically participate. And the teachers would then boys be raising their hands, but then they'd call in a girl. And they'd make if you had gym class and they were picking teams for kickball, make sure you had to pick a girl. Make sure you pick a girl. And they go out of the way to make space for women, give them special favors, give them special treatment. You know what? I'm not going to go down there. I'll go down here. And I noticed there boys would get punished much more harshly than girls for similar offenses, and that carries through to the modern day where men get much harsher prison sentences than women for the same type of crime. Perhaps not for the most serious crimes, but for like lesser crimes, men get just a book thrown at them and women get some mercy. I didn't want to be male. I didn't want to be a boy when I saw like all these, like they're pulling out the chairs and making room for the girls, but nothing for the boys. The girls get all these extra things bought for them. I was jealous of the selection of clothing. Not that I wanted to wear female clothes per se. I didn't want to be a cross-dresser per se. But like they get to wear blouses, t-shirts, skirts, pants, whatever. The different types of underwear. I mean, you're a kid, you have a budding sexuality, and you're looking at the Sears catalog and you see women in their bras and panties and lingerie. When you go, oh my gosh, your first hint of sexuality is the variety of glorious ways which women adorn themselves. And I remember a few times when everyone was out of the house, I would try on clothes. I would try on my sister's clothes because I want to know what is this? What's it mean to be a woman? Why do they get to wear this? Now, I couldn't fill out the clothes. I didn't have the right body type. And I didn't want to be a woman, but I did resent like being male. Like, why do men just like, I have to wear these tight pants and these shirts that like ride up as soon as you lift your arms up, and they're so damn tight and so uncomfortable. Like, men have to wear this, you're wearing brick clothing. Now, I didn't understand at the time I was autistic, and certain physical sensations like being constricted like really bothered me more than the average neurotypical person. But and yeah, I want to make note that a lot of people who are identify as transgendered are often on the autistic spectrum, which I don't know what the connection is, but there's a correlation between autism and transgenderism. Correlation is not causation, it's just a correlation. It could be a meaningless correlation, but it does exist. Did not like being male. And so I got to looking at my own anatomy and like, discovering my body, and you feel between my scrotum and my anus, there's that skin there, and the way it stitches together. So it's like, I wonder if I was a hermaphrodite or something, and my parents had that sewed up, and they just raised me as a boy and that's why they really didn't like me, because they like girls more than they like boys. That's how I felt. That's generally how I felt. That's how I perceive things. If I was stupid for feeling that, fine. I was a child with an undeveloped mind and lack of experience, not to mention, being extraordinarily socially awkward due to the autism. How was I supposed to be well-adjusted growing up with all these negative influences? In school, at home, the boyishness was laughed at. It was something to be tolerated at best. Like, oh, boys. My mother used to rag on me for my hobbies and interests. Being a Spurg, I had very intense interests: video games, computers, fantasy novels. And she used to run me down over these things. She'd see me playing a game. I don't like that game. She always made a point to tell me she didn't like what I was doing. Now, I was allowed to do it, but I had to do it enduring the constant, I don't like that. I don't like fantasy novels. I don't like that game. And being a child, part of your self-worth is built around what your parents think of you and think of what you do. That you see little kids like, Mom, look at what I'm doing. You see it with a 3 or 4-year-old, like, Mom, look at this. I can swing the swing really high. Mom, look, I can cross the monkey bars. Mom, I can balance on my bike now. That kind of thing. Mom, I made this out of Legos. It's not a very good thing to be stuck in as you grow up, to be hyper concerned what your parents think of you. But if you're not raised to grow out of it, it takes a long time you have to teach yourself to grow out of it. And so you grow up with as a boy, having your boyish enthusiasms run down by your mother. You don't want to be a boy. Stop being so energetic. Stop being so boyish. Why can't you be more like the girls? I remember being in high school, mid to late high school. I mean, I was about 15, 16. My mom got upset with me playing video games all the time. Like, well, what should I be doing? You should be out forming interpersonal relationships, which means getting together and gossiping with the girls. That's what she meant. You should be out there just talking about absolutely nothing, having lots of shallow conversations with lots of people. She may not think so, but I got the impression she didn't want to have a boy. She wanted another girl. And there was also all this Catholic guilt shit around sexual desire, and sexual desire was wrong, lust was wrong, but how are you supposed to marry someone if sexual desire is wrong? So what happened is I had a basic attraction to what people call pretty women today. Thin, shapely, hourglass figure, whatever, variation women. And I was just made to be ashamed of it. In theory, this applies to men and women, but I'm talking about women. If someone has facial symmetry and a healthy waist to hip ratio and no skin problems, a nice smile, like that in theory, healthy head of hair, all these things in theory, that's supposed to be attractive. But no, that's objectifying women. Women are not sex objects. That's right. Women are not sex objects. Of course, the women can lust after men all they want. I remember, my mom loved Tom Selleck, for example. And he's old now, but he was a very healthy, handsome specimen of humanity. It every good reason for a woman to look at him and say, yeah, I want some of that. That's completely normal. It's completely healthy. But if a man felt that way, it was wrong. It was objectifying women. You can't have sexual desires. Sexual desires are for women and not for men. So when, the thing which would trigger it becomes a trigger of emotional trauma now. I live with it the rest of my life. Now, the damage is done. This is not a complaint. This is an understanding. I had a woman in my friend group. In every classic way, she's hot. But the only time I found her attractive is when she had an acne breakout. Why? There's nothing attractive about acne. That's a skin problem. That diminishes your beauty. Because I have emotional trauma related to appreciating beauty. Okay, my preferences have now been permanently shifted. And I'm not complaining about it. I like what I like now. All right. I like women who are fat and chubby and cute and soft and squishy. But the healthy, biologically healthy desire has trauma associated with it. And since the biologically healthy attraction was pathologized, I didn't want to be a boy. The female heterosexual attractions were affirmed, but the male heterosexual attractions were condemned. Okay, well, there's not much point in being a man if you can't even embrace your sexuality. But a woman can. But that it still needs an outlet. So let me talk about the outlet for where your sexuality goes. So all the men in my life growing up from a young age, like my father, most of them, a lot of them worked in computer companies when you had computer companies in America. And they had fat, frumpy, stay-at-home wives. Almost all of them. And a bunch of them, they would be depressed, and they would overeat and snack on potato chips and watch soaps or trash TV, talk shows, I guess is a better way to put it, so I'm not using like a pejorative, but a lot of that stuff is trash. And I remember my mom was depressed. She cried all the time, and I'm sure Catholic guilt played part of that, but mom cried constantly. I know she had depression. I inherited the depression. And so, like, the men in my life have these depressed, fat, frumpy wives, and you're supposed to be, your sexual desire was shameful. So, of course, these guys married women they weren't attracted to, apparently, because sexual desire was shameful. I mean, there's the logical conclusion there. And so, even if you can't express your sexual desire for beauty, that gets displaced. So I looked at the examples around me. I guess that's what I'm supposed to desire. So that actually changed my sexuality to where I was attracted to fat women. Now, I've met some very pretty, shapely fat women, and I prefer them now. I'm just the damage is done, if you want to call it damage. I know that the few people I knew who had friends of mine who had thin moms, their moms were cold and snappy and a little bit rude, as opposed to the fat moms who were just depressed. They could be homely, comfortable, even kind-hearted, but depressed and fat. And I keep saying fat. Fat. My favorite word. I'm at the point where if I see women who have a certain, like, traditionally beautiful body type, so to speak, I'm immediately suspicious, hostile. Not like I want to hurt anybody, just don't find that attractive. I've been, the damage has been done. I can't really enjoy that anymore. You're young, you like it until the emotional damage is done, and now that's keep me away from that. And it sucks. Not that it matters anymore because I'm gone impotent. But taking delight in healthy, beautiful women is something I can't really do. And I remember my father one time, it was before dinner, and he wanted to give my mom, he wanted affection from my mom. So he approached her and he hugged her and he went to give her a kiss, and then he tried to slip her the tongue. And I was just like a little kid. It's one of my earlier memories. I was like 5, 6 years old. And she pushed him away. He's like, stop that. It hurt him. Hurt his feelings. My father wanted a little passionate eros in his romantic relationship, and she shoved him away. That reinforced, I thought it was gross because I was a kid. You don't stick your tongue in people's mouths. Yeah. But it reinforced that sort of affection. Sexual eros affection was wrong. It was shameful, but that's somehow how babies are made. So, I can imagine there must be families out there, some whom no doubt Catholic, there might be other denominations who, the act of breeding is very mechanical. You get the erection and then just kind of mechanically do it. 32 and a half seconds later, the deed's done, and all right, we've conceived a child. I'm getting on with my work now. Okay, so be it. Seems like a way to take the joy out of the something that should be very intimate and beautiful and delightful. And in any case, no, I don't know how my parents had sex. I know they did. I know my parents did have sex. And when I got older, I understood that they did have sex. So what happened is they go to bed, and then, 15, 20 minutes later, mom's running up the stairs because they slept downstairs, slept upstairs, and as fast as she could, and stomping on the stairs to run to the bathroom to go to the bathroom, obviously to urinate and kind of clean out after the act. And in that time, like, I didn't think, man, I didn't think it was so offensive. I think my father's semen would be so offensive. And everyone I know now just keeps, paper towels or something in a wastebasket. So you can just clean up after. I mean, if you need to wash up after, fine. But it's not like it's urgent. It's not urgent, like, oh shit, I gotta get rid of this disgusting stuff. You clean up, and then when you're done cuddling, assume people cuddle. Maybe I'm like, I don't know, I was poisoned by 1980s romance in movies and TV shows where people like actually cherish each other's company or something. And then you go, you're okay, I'm gonna go get cleaned up now, and you go brush your teeth and whatever, wash up, and then you go to bed. Again, oh my gosh, sex must be bad. Like, my dad worked hard all day. You had to work hard at work. You had to be the boss's bitch all day, and you have to come home. You have to deal with raising your kids. You got to punch them when they're bad. You got to do this. You got to do that. And finally, like, the only real pleasure you get in the day is once in a while, a few minutes of intravaginal touch, and then your spouse acts like it's gross. No, maybe my mom didn't think it was gross. It was just, hey, you got to get rid of the stuff, get rid of stuff. But as the child growing up in the circumstances I grew up in, it seemed like she thought it was gross. So I have a lot of like negative emotional baggage related to sex and sexuality that I just have to live with. You can't cure it. And now that I'm old and the body's failing, like whatever, it doesn't matter anymore, right? But it's still interesting. It's a way to understand myself. Because by understanding myself, I can now like better understand other people as well. Something might be missing, in which case I'll record again. But I grew up in a very female positive, male negative environment. Sex negative, sexual attraction's bad. Didn't want to be a boy. Thought maybe I was a hermaphrodite because I didn't understand anatomy. Just dreaded being male, and I end up, so the feminine, the female was elevated. You end up worshiping women. In a way, I was always afraid to speak my mind for the most part around my mom. If it let loose just a little bit, not even a curse word, just a little bit of harsh language, no fucking way. Even like into my adult life, I remember before. I'd visit my mom from time to time in my adult life, see how she's doing, and like I'd have to pick my words carefully because like I didn't want to deal with it. I was terrified of like swearing in front of my mom. But I should have just remembered like fuck, shit, piss, god damn it, cocksucker, and just like let it out. And the only time like I really let loose swearing was when I was trying to fix her cell phone one day, and I'm like, whatever, I'm swearing, she can fucking deal with it. And so this dysphoria went on into my late teens, early 20s. I had my first serious girlfriend. And this worship of the female and the feminine poisoned that relationship. Now, she had her own problems. She had her own failings, her own problems. But part of how I failed in the relationship is the fact I put her front and center. I cared about her. I didn't like boys. I didn't like men. I like girls more. I'm not saying attraction. I mean, just kind of be around. Why would I want to be around men? Like, like people have girls' night out. Hey, what's gonna have girl time? Like, I don't even care about having guy time. I don't. And all my friends are like, wow, why don't you want to have guy time? I just don't care. I was so like put off by being male. I didn't understand the importance of having man time. I didn't. Even like, remember my dad came over to visit my apartment one day in my early 20s, and he brought over chicken wings and a 6-pack, and we were going to just have man time, and like my girlfriend had moved in, and it just totally like ruined everything. And like we were going to have man time, and it turned out to not be man time. And yeah, I had a lot of self-parenting to do. It took me a long fucking time to grow up too. I was pretty fucking infantile, so to speak, until my late 20s, where I finally like, you know what, I want to grow the fuck up, and I did. Now, I came to be okay. I'm okay with being male. I'm not apologetic about being male, but there are like still residual, the damage from growing up and the dysphoria that I experienced. Like, I'm totally happy being male. But like Do I need to? I am missing some things about male. It's like I don't need to bond with the guys. I mean, I can have male friends and do things, but it's not like this is our man time. This is our testosterone time. I don't feel that. I don't need that. Like, I have a mixed group of friends, and like, the girls might want to have girl time and do like whatever, girl art project time or something. But like, the men don't really do man things. And mind you, I like hanging out with my male friends. But it's not like this is our sacred male space. It doesn't exist for me. And my sexuality, in terms of what's attractive and what's not, that's broken. And mind you, it's not wrong to find different body types attractive, but I had a base programming that got damaged. Okay, I had an appropriate attraction based on what is healthy, and now I have an appreciation of what's unhealthy. Anyways, I think I'm getting a little bit too rambly here. That is pretty much summarizes the my journey through gender dysphoria from my preteen years until my early 20s. Yeah, I'm a man. I'm an atypical man. We all have experiences. We all carry scars and damage, and we just have to move on. I have my miseries. Thankfully, gender dysphoria is not one of them. And people who have it ongoing, though, they have my sympathy because it sucks. It sucks to be depressed. It sucks to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. Thank you for watching.